think unless things happen, we are heading trouble. Unless we have a serious overhaul, we are heading trouble. You see what's happening. There's nothing taking place now. We have the women team which had really prepared, and you know last time they qualified because I had prepared them. The women team is out. My friends are taking the teams to India to go and play in India, when actually they're supposed to be playing in the African countries, because what you need to do is you need to play with the African countries, Morocco and other countries. But taking our team to India doesn't make sense at all. So there are a lot of problems. There's nothing going on in the branches. There's nothing going on in the sub-branches, and that's the truth. So we're in trouble.
In your view, we're in trouble? We are in trouble. There are those who say that you left the federation in trouble. When you were leaving, there was a FIFA embargo. You can correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, FIFA was not bringing any money to the federation. Why was this happening? I don't think that's right. There was no FIFA embargo. The FIFA embargo is the last year I was in the office, and it happened to all African countries. FIFA was reorganizing itself. So it stopped taking money to all other countries, not only Kenya. So it was a normal routine by FIFA. The federation says that they inherited a federation that they literally had to beg FIFA to start bringing money back to the country. Well, have they been insincere? I think that's what they are saying. But you know, all our activities were taking place, Waiga, all of them, and we had sponsors who were in place. We had the Super Sport. We had many other sponsors. So that is not correct. That is not correct. That's not correct. Okay. And even though, and as you say that you had sponsors in place, we've never forgotten the Cape Verde debacle. Well, you know, Cape Verde, I don't want to revisit Waiga, because you know what it was. I was being messed by the Minister for Sports then. So Dr. Hassan Wario. Yeah, Wario. So I don't want to revisit that, because it is him who was entirely responsible, because the trip was being sponsored by the government, and he was deliberately using that one to mess me up. He wanted to sabotage you? He wanted to sabotage me. Did you raise it with someone? I raised it with the authorities. I raised it. And what you are aware that? You know, now is when we are finding out. I'm telling you, I raised it. I put my facts on the table, and for real, he messed the ministry. How? Because we know there was supposed to be a 70 million and then a 9 million after that. The question of money was not important. Okay. It's a question of preparation to go to Cape Verde. When the team was supposed to go to Cape Verde, the ministry had not released any money. So it became also impossible. And you knew they had the money? We knew they had the money. We had given our budget 2-3 months earlier. We had evidence. The guy waits until the last minute. The team is traveling on Saturday, and then he sends the money on Friday evening. And when you send money on Friday evening through Central Bank, you are not able to access that money. You remember we had to hire a plane. A charter plane. Yeah, which was unnecessary, completely unnecessary. We ought to have used these airlines, which was much cheaper. So it was entirely the ministry under the Minister for Sports then. So how come it did not come out as clearly then? It came, but some of your colleagues didn't want to highlight it, because they had their own vested interests. There was a scheme in your mind. There was a ploy to paint you as There was a scheme, serious scheme. So that's one of the things which made me say, okay, to hell with it. My goodness. But you still have some questions to answer, Mr. Nyamweya. Did you leave FKF with debt? You know, and if you there is no organization which cannot have debts, including the government. So the question of saying that you're going to be an angel living without debt, that's not possible. I left the federation with some debt, which we incurred when we were running it. There's nothing unusual about it. So with all these sponsors, the government is owing money in trillions. So that's a debt. But other federations are able to run the operations profitably. Which other federations? You know, those federations are supported by very many agencies, including their own governments. The government has not fully supported the federations. That I can tell you. Although there is support, you know, I used to get support, but that money is not sufficient. So you are likely to go to debts because you must have the activities take place. Okay.
And why I ask you this is because if you say that you want to come back and make a change, you'll obviously be judged on,
you know, you are.
I'm adding words.
You are adding words.
Okay,
I haven't said what I said. Football activity does not mean necessarily being a president of the federation. Coming back, you can come back and run your own clubs, or support football activities. So why? By you twisting me that I want to come back? I haven't said.
You haven't said.
I haven't said that.
Maybe it was the headline in the paper.
No. Papers are not written. Are written by you guys.
Not by me personally.
No, by the media people. I have never said it.
What, if you say that we are in a bad situation right now, what would you have done differently over the last 4 years, for example?
The last 4 years, I think what I would have done, Waiga, is bring harmony in football, which is not there now. You can see before I left the office, we had what we call an agreement with KPL, because KPL and the federation had been fighting for a very long time. So before I left the office, after having my last AGM, we agreed that we must have what we call an agreement with KPL so that KPL can run their league independently, which I did with the approval of my GM. So after doing that, KPL had an agreement to run their own league independently for 5 years. But what happened? The federation started messing them up. At some stage, I had to go to court asking the federation that you must leave KPL run their league because that one has been agreed. It's an agreement which has been done by the federation and the KPL.
But we did not see the same action when you were also chairperson. We also did see quite some squabbles between you and KPL.
No, there were, but let me tell you, when I took,
what's the difference between
when I took the office, for 3 years, we had a lot of stability. For 3 years, we had what we call the Joint Executive Committee between FKF and the KPL, which ran very well, and we didn't have any problem. So the last year now, that's when we started having problems. Can I tell you why we started having problems? People started having interest of the elections. So some had to go to KPL to tell them to support them, you know, and in the course of that, then we started having what we call squabbles. But before I left the office, Waiga, I'm on record to have streamlined the relationship between KPL and the federation. We had an agreement where KPL runs the league for 5 years without any interference. That's not happening. Big problems now.
Big problems now. Some say, however, Mr. President, that when you were there, you ran the federation as a one-man army, no structures. You had a challenge with sponsors. How do you respond to those who say?
Well, Waiga, I can understand where you're coming from. Some say, which I don't know which is some, which structure did we have? We had the provincial league, we had the district leagues, we had the KPL league, we had the what they call the national super league. So which structures are you talking about? Because
for example, the junior
structures is about the leagues, and those leagues need money. Waiga. You can't run football without money.
They say you chased away some sponsors.
Which one?
I don't want to mention them here.
No, mention. Which one?
There were tournaments that were there under your watch.
I can tell you
that were discontinued when you were there.
I can tell you. I don't think there's any sponsor who went away.
But there were tournaments that were discontinued when you were there.
Which tournament, for instance?
You know which one I'm talking about, Mr. President.
We had too many tournaments. We had the English. We had the Premier League.
Okay.
Then we had the Super League. We had the provincial leagues.
Sakata ball. What happened?
Sakata ball. I didn't send them away. Sakata ball didn't want to. They didn't want to follow the rules.
They're back now, or at least the sponsors.
They are not back now. Sakata is not back unless we are living in Uganda. Where is it back? Waiga. There's no Sakata.
But there's a tournament by the same sponsor.
It's not Sakata. That tournament is not. It's a tournament which is not actually run by the federation. It's run by a sponsor. You know, when you are running football, Waiga, the federation must take control of what's happening. A sponsor cannot wake up in the morning and says we want to run a league or a tournament without the blessings of the federation and without the federation having what we call control. Not in terms of money, but control in terms of officiating, in terms of managing, and that's what we call football.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and his picture is actually just there behind you. Marwa. The allegations have been brought up against him. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, Waiga Maro is a very disappointing case. I'm extremely disappointed of what Maro, if it's true. I don't want to believe if it's true. Because Maro has come up, we brought Maro very well. He's one of the top referees in the world now. So for him to have gotten $600, Waiga, is ridiculous. And indeed, if he did it, then FIFA should give him a live ban so that others can learn a lesson. It's very unfortunate because you have, first of all, he has ruined the name of the country. He has lost an opportunity of officiating in the next World Cup. That's a top cup in the world, but it's very disappointing if he did so. But you know, from what we are seeing, it looks like he was given money. And you can't be stupid to take money, even from a journalist.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
In 2015, Al Jazeera did a documentary titled Killing the Ball. I don't know if you watched that.
Yes, I watched it.
And they claimed that an Asian-based football broker approached 3 Kenyan players in Harambee Stars to give away a game that would enable Nigeria victory to qualify for, I think that was the 2010 FIFA World Cup. So is this something that you had heard about or you were aware of when you were...
I heard about it. You had not joined the federation then. I had heard about it. But I can tell you that kind of recklessness must die. If you are referees, you must be very transparent, and those referees who are doing that, who are getting bribed, should actually be banned for life.
That's your recommendation?
That's my recommendation.
Let's switch gears now, Mr. President. Is there anything good you would say the administration that came after you has done?
Nothing. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you given them enough time?
We have it's 3 years now. We have gotten 1 more year to go for elections.
Okay. I want us to play something. Can we have the second clip?
You don't clean football in only 5 years. It takes a lot of time. Even the president of a country, you can't give him 5 years. You know, 5 years is trying to see where things are. And then the next 5 years now, you are implementing.
You are asking for another 5 years to clean up. And you are not giving the current administration.
Well, the point is, Waiga, is I had only 5 years.
You're not okay.
No. I'm talking about myself.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the current administration. So those 5 years, you cannot do much. So I should have actually taken 10 years looking at it properly. Because 5 years, you know, you don't have stability. So I don't want to talk about the current administration.
It's just that I was asking, should you also give them the same?
I want to talk about the money, but you know, even in 5 years, you must be seen to be doing something.
What did you do?
A lot of it, you know.
You said you brought harmony?
Yes, I brought harmony. We had a proper management. We left the leagues run. The leagues were running all over. Branches were very active all over. We started going all over the country. At least we had a solid foundation, Waiga.
I want to ask a few questions. For example, you mentioned the women's team. We are told that there was a time that they would, and I actually saw some of this, they would sleep in Shauri Moyo, they would shower with pool water, they would walk to the training grounds, and this was under your time?
I can answer you.
What was happening? They slept in Kasarani?
I can answer you that. Eh? If you don't have finances, you have to go through all those problems. But the women's team which we had was really under Coach Uma. It came out very well. And by the time I was leaving the office, it was one of the best women leagues in the region. And that's why they qualified almost immediately I left.
You say it was. You don't feel it?
No, it was. I don't feel it now.
Let's talk about Chan, Mr. President. Chan, you brought Chan to Kenya, but it never took off. And you came out, even though you say you've been quiet, you did come out and say that you felt disappointed by the current administration with the fact that we were not able to host Chan. Why do you put responsibility solely on them for that?
Let me tell you, when you remind me about Chan, Waiga, very disappointing. Very disappointed. I really worked down the clock with my team to bring Chan. I had to see Isayatu, I had to push the CAF to give us Chan. And luckily enough, I had also asked the government to give me a guarantee, which they did. So we expected Chan to take off. But unfortunately, it's a very saddening thing, it didn't take off. Let me tell you why I will shoulder that responsibility of the federation.
The government does not run football. Football is run by the federation. So it's the duty of the office to make sure that you push government, do some things, because the government does not know about the fixtures, for instance. So it's your duty as a football manager or a president of the federation to push the government. You cannot wait until when you have 6 months to go. So that's why I squarely blame the federation. Although the government...
Do federations build stadiums?
They don't have to build stadiums, but it's your duty to push the government because you have a government guarantee.
So you would have been able to push
I would
the
have
government?
been able, you know that. I would have been able to push the government.
So why was the government not, and if I can use the word, have that sense of urgency about building stadiums? Because if you're saying the federation needs to push the government,
it
also shows that...
You cannot ask me why the government was, because I was not in the office. So if I was in the office, I would have used all my energy to ask the government to see the urgency of building those stadiums. So that one I cannot answer, Waiga, because I'm not in the federation.
You're not in the federation?
Yeah.
Because one would then say, shouldn't the blame then have been a shared responsibility?
I would tell you
in all fairness.
To some extent, it's a shared responsibility. But the bulk of the share goes to the federation. Tell me, the government today, does the government know when we have the fixtures? Does the government know when you have CAF qualification matches or World Cup qualification matches? The government doesn't know. So if it's your duty, and let me tell you, Waiga, by us losing John, my friend, Kenya will take almost 50 years before we get any serious international tournament. We will not get it. Not in our lifetime, I can tell you now. And that is the opportunity, because if we hosted Chan, the next one would have been the African Cup of Nations. And in the future, World Cup, who knows?
World Cup?
Who knows? You can't say that Kenya cannot host World Cup. Kenya can host World Cup in future.
In future?
Yes.
In terms of your football legacy, what do you consider, and I know you've talked about what you did when you were president, but football legacy, what would you say are one or two things that you say Sam Nyamweya will always be remembered for?
One of the things, Waiga, is I fought very hard to bring football back to the people, because it was run by a limited company, which Waiga you knew. I fought hard. I fought hard to bring what we call democracy into football. You know, by bringing football now to the people. Now anybody can fight for elections. That's one of the biggest legacies. Number two, I managed, and with my colleagues, we managed to streamline the community football. I will tell you today, I'm a very proud man with Gor Mahia and AFC. If you look at Gor Mahia has done well.
But there are only two clubs.
Well, you start from somewhere.
To be quite honest.
To be honest, you start from somewhere. There are two clubs, but let me tell you, it is the community clubs which will help football in this country. And I salute Gor Mahia. They've done very well. And that's the direction we should take.
What was the issue around the money? Under your administration, the cry of unpaid allowances. And to be quite fair, we haven't heard much of that over the last 3 years. What went wrong in regards to that?
You know, when you say about unpaid allowances, I don't agree with you. Because some of the allegations are media created.